Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. On Thursday, June 16th, strike up the Razorback band and play the fight song. The $160 million Razorback Stadium expansion was approved this morning by the University of Arkansas Board of Trustees on an 8-2 vote. David Pryor delivered a long statement in advance of the meeting about why he opposed it. He was joined in opposition by one other trustee, Cliff Gibson of Monticello. David Pryor made the point that it was time to make a stand on priorities and put students first. He said that the largest bond issue in the state's history for a football stadium sent a bad message, even though the money is, of course, going to come just from athletic department revenues, not from tuition or tax dollars. The athletic department, for its part, said it has a sound budget. You got to keep up with the Joneses in big-time college football. It said that of course, there wouldn't be tax money used. They thought they could easily pay the freight. There was actually a very interesting statement on priorities that followed the vote on the stadium. The Board of Trustees met and routinely approved almost 70 pay increases, out of sequence extraordinary pay increases for people at the Fayetteville campus. More than 60 of these were for people in the athletic department, coaches and administrators. The pay raises were of the sort like these. Jeff Long, the athletic director, will make $1.8 million. Brett Beelum, the football coach, will make $4.6 million. There's not a football coach on the list that will make less than $400,000. They did move Chancellor Joseph Steinmetz, the top academic officer on the campus, to $450,000 a year base pay. That makes him lower paid than most of the football coaching staff. The head weight training coach at Arkansas, the guy who instructs people on weightlifting, makes more money than Joseph Steinmetz, the chancellor. Talk about a statement of priorities. And speaking of priorities, we learned today that there's some 120,000 people covered by Medicaid in Arkansas. A lot of these children on the Our Kids program who are not getting the medical coverage they're supposed to have because of a, quote, computer glitch, unquote. The State Department of Human Services, under the control of Asa Hutchinson for going on 16 months now, says they hope to get this problem fixed by the end of the year. You wonder if a pay raise for one of ASA's top new aides brought in under his administration, if they had to wait till the end of the year for their pay raise, if they'd be so sanguine about another 7 or 8 months for kids to receive the medication they need under the Medicaid program in Our Kids. More bad news for Arkansas came from the Brennan Center for Justice today. There's 2.3 million people in the United States in prisons or in jails. Our jailing rate has increased 500% over 40 years. Some states are doing better, not Arkansas. We're number one in imprisonment growth over the last 8 years with a 23% growth, and we have politicians like Tom Cotton that think reducing incarceration rate is not the answer, even so far in Cotton's case is to favoring putting kids who skip school and run away from home in jail. We're a tough state. It doesn't necessarily produce a lower crime rate, however. Lawyers in Fort Smith filed an action in federal court yesterday begging a federal judge there not to take disciplinary action against them for shifting a class action case out of his court to a friendlier state court where they got a whopping attorney fee award and a settlement for victims in a class action case against an insurance company, maybe not so much money. They told the judge, among other things, well, other judges have let this happen, as if that's an excuse. And then secondly, they said, you know, our future business could be damaged if you find we've done wrong and you punish us here. Gee, isn't that what the justice system is supposed to be about? Speaking of lawyers, Wayne Dowd, a Texarkana lawyer who was going to be honored this week at the Arkansas Bar Association convention for 50 years of service, died in Hot Springs this morning. He was a senator from Texarkana for 20 years and one of the good ones on environmental and juvenile justice issues. He was a Judiciary Committee chairman. He died at 74. A couple of other things you won't find Arkansas Republican politicians doing. One's fighting for gun control. Democrats in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, mounted a filibuster yesterday of 15 hours demanding to be heard on gun control. They weren't going to wait any longer. And they say the filibuster produced some promises for some votes on some gun control measures. One, to close the gun show loophole on background checks on firearm purchases. Another one, to prohibit people on the terrorist watch list from being able to purchase automatic weapons, or semi-automatic weapons, as they now are able to do. Of course, Arkansas senators were not on the filibuster that forced this good vote. They probably won't vote for the gun control measures. Tom Cotton and John Bothman are both controlled by the NRA. Connor Eldridge pointed out that John Bozeman, his Republican opponent in the race for U.S. Senate, is worse even than Donald Trump on the gun question. Trump himself said yesterday he saw some wisdom perhaps in barring gun purchases by people on the terrorist watch list. And another extraordinary action by a Republican politician not likely to be replicated here. The Lieutenant Governor of Utah gave a heartfelt and touching speech yesterday. about how sorry he was for mistreating gay people in the past. It was prompted by the slaughter in Orlando. He said it was just wrong. He did, and he was embarrassed for himself. He recognizes, as Arkansas Republican politicians refuse to do, that part of the important part of this attack was an attack on a targeted part of the community, a part of the community that it still feels discrimination, that still feels threatened, and in Arkansas, in fact, may be legally discriminated against in a number of areas because that's the way Republican politicians want it. You'd think they'd at least be sorry to see 50 people slaughtered. I'm Max Brantley. No jokes today. I'll be back tomorrow.